Good morning. Today I have with me the world famous FabFitFun co-founder. So Daniel Broukhim, life hit you harder than any business challenge.
I was unfortunately diagnosed with, and I would say it really shaped my perspective on life more than it did anything in terms of my business strategy. We want to give people, a compelling narrative that's happening in the world today is like giving people access to things that rich people have in the private markets.
Good morning. Today I have with me the world famous FabFitFun co-founder. So Daniel Broukhim, he is extremely popular in the young crowd, especially in Los Angeles, Beverly Hills. He is the face of the young generation, which has really taken e-commerce, especially subscription box by a storm. Um, Now, imagine that I don't know anything about you. Could you tell the audience what exactly are you known for? Why is everybody after Daniel? But by the way, before I even proceed, I'll let you know that how I met Daniel was I actually paid $300 for 5 minute call with Daniel or half hour call with Daniel, and that money was going to go to the charity, and that's how originally I connected with Daniel because I was like, I need to talk to this guy, and that's how we connected. So, Daniel, give us a little bit about yourself before I start bombarding you with questions.
Sure. At first, Puneet, you're too kind. I should have you do my introduction everywhere I go. Quick background on me is, I'm Daniel Broukhim, born and raised in Los Angeles. Grew up to immigrant parents from Iran. We're from the Persian Jewish community, which actually is a very entrepreneurial one. I learned a lot watching my father, who was a doctor, who eventually transitioned into being an entrepreneur. And seeing him and my uncle run businesses, and that always kind of stood out to me. So that's kind of, my early kind of like entree into the business world was through, my family. And then, just in terms of who I am today, co-founder, co-CEO of a company called FabFitFun. Initially, it started as a newsletter and blog, but it's evolved greatly today. FabFitFun is still probably our biggest, part of the business, but we now own and operate other brands, some of which we own wholly, some of which we own jointly. To name a few, Unhide is a blanket company, Pupbox is a dog subscription box, Curator is a kind of higher end lifestyle subscription box, EV Beauty Fuel is our latest electrolyte and foray into the supplement space. It's a electrolyte that combines hydration and beauty together, so it's getting all the benefits of hydration, but adding in your sort of biotin, your collagen, or your hyaluronic acid, some magnesium. It's also delicious, and a couple others in the works now that we continue to build. And in addition to owning and operating brands, we also do B2B services for brands. So we do fulfillment, product development, sourcing, some trade finance. So it's really evolved from the core FabFitFun platform to ecosystem of brands and services that support them. And we're really excited to keep building. It's been a labor of love for a long time. Learned a lot over the last 13, 14, 15 years since really getting FabFitFun off the ground. And it feels in some ways we're still in the early innings of what's possible.
Love that. Love that. So, before we get started into the details of each of the element that you just talked about, I would like to know you built FabFitFun into a massive consumer brand. Like it's everybody, every young girl that I know is subscribing to your subscription box. Means I personally am very scared of subscription, but that's me. And but everybody I've talked to, especially girls about 35, 40, they're all your fans in LA. And but in 2020, I was reading that life hit you harder than any business challenge. So what changed more, your business strategy or your definition of success after your diagnosis?
In 2020, I was unfortunately diagnosed with cancer. Long story short is, I recently crossed my 5-year mark, which was a very exciting milestone in October. And I no longer have to do any checkups or anything like that for cancer, thank God. But I had a very, very difficult lymphoma that I had to deal with. And I would say it really shaped my perspective on life more than it did anything in terms of my business strategy. I think, of course, like your business strategy evolves, a lot of things evolve, but your perspective also changes in terms of, really what the stakes are when we're talking about business and money and things like that, which, are really, really second to your health. And so, I often say that, when we're healthy, we want all these things, but a person who's not healthy only wants one thing, which is to get their health back. So I think that always shapes things. And I think I always have been able to kind of deal with the ups and downs of business without taking it too personally, which has always been, I think, a strength of mine. Like, oh, like things are good one day, things are bad. I don't get too worked up. But I think just creating the time and the space for the other things in my life more that I want to focus on now that the cancer is behind me has been always an increasing priority. And of course, people think everything changes, everything's so different. No, you go back to a lot of the old things too, and like you still care about the things you used to care about, and like which is nice actually to feel normal again.
So
But I think a little bit more empathy, a little more compassion is definitely something that happened to me because it could really, when you go from being like one of the stronger people in the room to the weakest person in the room who really relies on everyone else to make it through, it really can change your outlook on life.
So, if you had to give three sentences of advice to your younger self, let's say you were 25 and you were just starting to build this business and you were starting off, what would be those three sentences?
One, like just minimizing the fighting and the arguing and the sort of disagreements in your life. Like, stress is like won't something that can be very tough, and like to the extent that like you can remain calm in all situations, that's like really really high priority because like you have your health, you have so many things going for you, and like why have so much tension at different points. The other is like I think like increasingly just like I'm always like I was always kind of like a go for it, but I think like now that having experienced this, it's like, oh, well, the risk of failure is like really nothing. Like, who cares, right? There's so many other things that are worse than failure. So, like, the extent that you can just go for it, you should. And that kind of like dovetails into the third, which is like those opportunities, those windows in life to really seize something. They open up very quickly, and they also close very quickly. That's something that I've learned later in life, and I think in those moments you have to be really ready to capitalize and be prepared as much as possible to take advantage of those moments because the big opportunities where like you do the 10x's or the 100x's, they just come and go very very quickly, and you have to be ready to move.
So, I was actually at a USC Marshall Business School conference and I met 25-year-olds and they were all about hustling and the hustle culture. And I was like that too. Were you like that? Is that hustle culture in general part of LA community, or is that just me who came in as an immigrant and wanted to establish myself? How did it translate in you, who's a second generation immigrant in a way? Because
Sure. I
you
mean, I think there was like an element of like wanting to succeed outside of any family or whatever it is. Like, there's always like the drive for independence that I think we have as immigrants. It's like super important. And I could be described as a hustler. I wouldn't I wouldn't say like like I'm trying to make stuff happen all the time. But how has that changed? I mean, look, I think we're emphasizing, it's not even, I don't want to say work-life balance, but it's more integration into everything we do is like a sense of calm and, kind of like, balance in a way, but not balance is probably the wrong word, but like integrating practices into your routines that kind of like, keep your cortisol levels down. Now, I don't know if that means like not to hustle. Like, I think like hustle is still good, but like, should you not sleep? No, I don't think like there's a big reward in not sleeping. Like I don't actually think you perform better if you sleep less. Like you probably,
so
it's a short-term winner. Maybe like you pull a couple good nights and then eventually you burn out and you can't deliver the results that you would otherwise.
so let's come to a point. Describe your daily life. Let's say you start in the morning with a maybe a cup of coffee and going hitting the gym or whatever. Can you describe it before 2020 and now?
I definitely have integrated a lot more working out in a routine way. So like I have a trainer 3 days a week. I have my cup of coffee. I'd have to get. It's hard to say because I think that like, well, there's things that have definitely changed. Are like I'm not like pulling the late nights in the way that I used to in terms of working. So there's something like that. There's definitely more integration of like, a prioritizing my trainer, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It's a good question. I'd have to think about it a little bit more. Like you forget because like my routine probably over the years has changed so much also, and it's still something that I'm like fine tuning. But like the things that I've created space for, seeing friends at night and like not really thinking about work past, not that I don't think about it because it's always like work and you integrate your work into your life. Like, when I socialize, a lot of people are people I work with, but I enjoy their company. It's not like, just work. But definitely focused a lot more on some sort of like wellness things, like, using the sauna a few times a week, making sure I get my workouts. I take, IV once every other week, 2 weeks with the vitamins, and like I have my supplements that I take and so on and so forth that were probably things that were less routinized before.
So, coming to business part of it, what made you go for a subscription company like FabFitFun, and why the name FabFitFun?
The name is kind of an interesting story because it's like a historical relic that we landed on this name. And there's a long, windy story to how FabFitFun became FabFitFun today, that, probably takes another 15 or 20 minutes. But we were working in a group and someone came up with it and just kind of like stuck. I think it's, some people like absolutely love the name. The other people like it's a tongue twister. And it's very hard to remember, and like, so not hard to remember, but hard to, they get it wrong and they're always saying fit, fab, fun. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't know. Like, it's like, it is a bit of a tongue twister. The
No.
subscription part of the box, I mean, it really came from, kind of running FabFitFun as a media property and a newsletter and blog, and going to these events and getting like a swag bag and thinking to ourselves, taking that sort of swag bag concept and making it a consumer offering um, would definitely be something that would be exciting and appealing. And at the time, the subscription economy, direct to consumer e-commerce, that were all uh, accelerating really greatly, and like, they were taking off. Like, there was companies in LA raising hundreds of millions of dollars to do subscription commerce. There was Honest Company, there was Beachmint, there's all these other players, and we thought to ourselves, well, I think this is actually a more compelling way to offer people products and have them trial them and discover them. And there were other subscription boxes, but they were very focused on a singular category, like the beauty box or the fashion box. And they were also sending you often, especially in the beauty space, just sample size products. But no one was saying, let me give them the whole thing, give them a tremendous amount of value. Every box of ours has like $300-400 in products. And eventually we let you pick the whole thing. So it's like a curated menu of which you're picking from. So no one was really, a lot of the people were thinking about the box as like a means to an end. Like, hey, we'll send you this stuff so that you can transact more with us. Like, try the sample so you can go buy the full size. We're just like, we'll give you the full size and enjoy the experience. And if you like it, come back to us later.
Give us a little bit of the reason. Who's your customer base today? Why quarterly subscriptions? And what do you have in a box that is driving them to come back again and again and again and again?
Well, so quarterly was an eye towards like having people be members for life. So the way that we think about FabFitFun is a shopping club. And if you sign up today, you can get the box. You can choose to skip the box and get credit and shop in our store. All half our e-commerce revenue, half our revenue now comes from e-commerce transactions. So a lot of people are spending a lot of money with us outside of the box itself. But the idea was we wanted you to stay with us for life, and we don't want you to have things pile up and not use them. We want these things to be things that you're excited about getting, you're looking forward to it. And, if you have a $75 ticket item now, getting that on a quarterly basis is extremely expensive for most households. But if you do that 4 times a year, you get our annual plan, it's, 260. Like, it's actually something that's reasonably affordable. And on top of it, you get probably the best deal online possible in terms of the quality of products from the latest brands, the best beauty, the best wellness, the best home, the best, fashion accessories, so on and so forth. You're really getting lovely, lovely companies that come work with us and brands. And so you get to experience them and taste them for a fraction of the cost that you would otherwise.
And are you using AI now in your business? And if so, what is the main usage that has really helped you grow, or are you in the process of it?
I think it's just something we're working through now. Like, in customer service, we've definitely seen a huge impact in terms of AI answering tickets and improving the customer service experience. But in terms of like the day-to-day operations, it still feels like early innings in terms of using it for, creative. We're definitely not using it on the dev side, though. I think eventually there's going to be massive opportunities to kind of enhance your engineering efforts with AI. To analyze finance and data, like, definitely using it, but to create it and, manage the sort of forecasting and so on and so forth, still early innings of that. Like, I think that's going to be another huge point of leverage. For recruiting, I think we're actually starting to implement some tools for AI. And so that'll be interesting. I'm excited to see how that evolves. So like, it's just, I still think it's like inning 1 or 2. and the way that we operate in a year or two could look, fundamentally very different. I think you do, have a lot of like individual consumers of AI who may use it in different ways. Like I might draft a document or, something like that, a memo that I need to circulate.
Would you be open to telling the audience about how many subscribers do you have that are subscribing to your box today, and how many people are visiting your website on a day-to-day basis?
I mean, it's a good question. I think, we don't love to share all the numbers, but it's about 1 million of subscribers now.
And since you've built something that could tomorrow go public, what keeps you in it today? Why wouldn't you sell it? Why wouldn't you go public? Is it something that about legacy? And have you learned something unique while doing this?
Well, I think we're in a very unique position right now because I think we ended up being one of the few kind of survivors in our category. And we're suddenly, I think, hitting what seems like more of an inflection point in terms of our ability to grow, both through, kind of the sort of core strategy of FabFitFun itself, but also through acquiring brands that leverage our platform to grow and incubate brands. So I think like we kind of finally got to a point where it feels like the flywheel is really fully built out. And like, you spend all this time, you built the V1 of the car, and the V1 of the car took you to a certain point, and it was like an amazing run of 7 years where it took us to another part. And then you kind of have to like sit back and like, oh wow, we have to kind of re-engineer this, and what does Act Two look like? And it just feels like we're in the early innings of Act Two right now. Putting all that effort in, I would like to see it play out. I do think there's a story around us being public that could be very compelling. Especially, we want to give people a compelling narrative that's happening in the world today is like giving people access to things that rich people have in the private markets, but the average person doesn't. And we do that on our platform, through our discounts. But we also want people to benefit from that financially, potentially as shareholders. And so, there is a chance that we do look at something like going public in the next few years, but it just evolves on a few things. And the thesis behind the company, I think, long run, is really kind of being a platform for giving people access to early stage consumer alpha, right? Like, we see all the brands before they become big. We can invest in them. We can incubate new concepts. We can buy brands and help them scale. And being the platform that does that, hopefully in the long run in the public markets where investors could benefit from participating, is something that I think excites me. I can't control where the public markets are in terms of how they view this opportunity, but I think, and my hunch is in the next few years, people will get more and more excited about it. And so when that happens, hopefully the stars align and it makes sense to do something like going public. But it's not to just like cash out, it's to kind of build on the continued thing that we've laid the foundation for so many years. And I think the opportunity ahead of us is pretty tremendous.
You've built a marketing machine in a way that you can take small entrepreneurial companies that are coming out with amazing products. You can literally invest in them, or you could take their product and distribute it for them. And you're kind of becoming like a Y Combinator. I would call it Daniel Combinator, D Combinator. You can
Too
literally,
kind. I have a brother, Michael, says to be, both of us.
yeah, DM Combinator.
Yeah.
So it's Michael is your younger brother or older brother?
Yeah, he's my younger brother.
Got you. And you have one other partner,
And we
Kara,
also have Katie, our co-founder, who heads up
Katie.
our merchandising division. Yeah.
And what is
And
her
she's just
role?
a powerhouse. Katie oversees merchandising and partnerships.
She oversees merchandising. And what is your role in the company and your brother's role?
We're co-CEOs.
Your
So
co-CEOs.
yeah, and I think we people ask like how you do that. Like, there's so much to do. We trade off on things when there's time for one of us to do something, we do it, and the other can go work on something else, and vice versa.
Since you spoke about your Persian background and your family's influence, do you think it's that cultural foundation that has made you lead, take risks, define success? And I know that Persian culture is amazing because it's full of hospitality and persistence and a lot of humility in it. So how do you find all those aspects of your culture actually helping you grow the company?
That's an interesting question. I mean, look, I think it's a very warm culture. So I think that people feel very welcomed when they're coming into FabFitFun. Like there is like a little bit of a family, but we're not a family, we're still building a business. But there's a certain level of connection and warmth that I think that is probably like, translates into camaraderie that I think has really made it so that we have real longevity with a lot of the people we've worked with. It's just that they feel like they're having fun with the people that they work with, and I don't think you can understate like enjoying the people you work with as a thing. Like, do you feel like you could hang out with them? Like, and a lot of people are like, oh, you want diversity and this, that. And we definitely want diverse people and diversity of opinions and so on and so forth. But you really, at fundamentally, if you're spending all this time with the people, you really have to like the people that you're working with. And a number of the people we work with have become very good friends. And we've also hired people who are good friends who've become excellent contributors to FabFitFun. So we don't shy away from leaning into bringing the people who are close and around us that we know are smart and capable, and working with them and helping them build their careers, but also them helping us build FabFitFun.
So while you were telling initially about your companies other than FabFitFun, there were like some dog food company or some other companies that you named. What is the most successful thing that you invested in or that you actually participated in?
Well, it's one that I probably haven't mentioned yet. There's been a couple, but like one is this company called Our Place that we were the first investors in, and we did a distribution deal with the FabFitFun platform, and we took a pretty hefty stake in that business. And that business is really doing phenomenally well. Like, I'm not allowed to share numbers or disclose anything, but we're large shareholders, and we're very excited about what the future holds for that company. There's another company that we took an equity stake in called Byte, which was based on dental aligners that sold for $1 billion. So we made a good amount of money on that transaction. So those two, and there's other ones that are kind of like joint venture stuff that like continue to do well. There's one called Playground, which is a brand that launched with Christina Aguilera that we're excited about. A lot of things in that vein. In terms of brands that we own and operate, Unhide is probably one of the most successful. That
Untied.
brand, Unhide, yeah, it's a direct-to-consumer blanket brand. It does almost $20 million of revenue on its own, and it spun out from our platform. And I think that serves as a big proof point for how we can leverage our platform to grow new brands. And now we're spending a lot more time focused on that effort.
I think you've probably unveiled an amazing idea where you can actually catch them when they are in the growth phase and kind of own pieces of that business. Such an amazing idea. I think you can probably even add services to those companies or provide services like Y Combinator does, like other services that are automatically given to new entrepreneurs. That way you can actually help with new entrepreneurs in Los Angeles, that is, and America for that matter. So five
Yeah.
years from now, Daniel, what is your bold but believable vision?
I mean, look, I think being known as like the number one place for up and coming brands in America to find their sort of distribution and partner with, like that would be in the world, actually, the number one place for brands to partner when they're launching, when they're just trying to get going in the market, is probably like the thing that excites me the most. And for us to participate in capturing the economics of those brands, before they get going to when they reach the promised land is kind of the long term vision for FabFitFun.
So I'll give you 60 seconds of your shameless plug.
I would say try our electrolytes. I'm obsessed with our new electrolyte brand. It's called EV Beauty Fuel. It's delicious. It's EVIE and then beauty and then fuel.com. I'm drinking one or two a day. I'm kind of like obsessed with it. And I think
Does it
everyone
have
should give those.
sugar?
No sugar.
No sugar added.
No sugar.
And
No.
I heard the word hyaluronic acid, which is amazing because I think that is the key buzzword today. Um, Apart from the minerals that you need, the magnesium, sodium, etc., phosphate, etc. I love that addition of hyaluronic acid that you guys did, and no sugar is added plus.
I can
So
send you some.
huh? Please,
I can
that would
send.
be amazing. That would be amazing. I actually am a big fan of electrolytes personally. My first thing in the morning is electrolytes before my coffee because that makes sure that I don't get a headache ever. Because sometimes coffee in the morning gets you a headache, and I love coffee, and I always see that having electrolyte prior to that keeps me healthy. So I love that you added. I actually have been adding hyaluronic acid myself sometimes to
To your
my,
electrolytes.
yeah.
I'm gonna send you a box of our electrolytes. You're gonna love them.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you very much today for your time. I know your time is extremely precious, and thank you for being the part of Bridge the Gap. We're genuinely hoping to see you grow to the next level, maybe go public, maybe even bring a lot more brands under your bandwidth, and we would love to contribute wherever we can. Thank you so much for your time today, and thank you for all the knowledge that you gave to our audience.
Thank you, Puneet.